and good evening here from Trump Tower. It's another edition of Trump Tower Live here in the Trump War Room. We're having a great time as always. I'm here with Campbell Burr and Cliff Sims.
Glad to be here as always, Boris. Another great rally coming from Wisconsin today. Seeing a lot of Republican unity there. Had Governor Scott Walker, Chairman Reince Priebus was there. Just a lot of enthusiasm there in Wisconsin. Another battleground state that perhaps in years past would have gone Democrat. That's looking like it's going to be another big Republican win.
And it went Democrat in 2012 with Paul Ryan on the ticket, his home state. But now it's a state that Clintons are very worried about. They're putting more money in there, and it's really adding to our map, right?
Yeah, we're seeing the Clinton campaign, increase spending in many states that I think they did not care about in the past. And then also today we saw Trump and Pence both in Valley Forge, and the focus of this speech was Obamacare, of course, which has been a huge topic this week.
So here we are, and we have a special guest with us, as we often do. General Flynn is here with us.
General
come
Michael
on
Flynn.
in.
All right, thanks for joining us today. How you doing, Boris?
General,
What's
how are
happening?
you? Good
What's
to
happening?
see you.
General, you were the head of the Defensive
I
Intelligence
came here to get
Agency.
everybody fired up on Red Bull, Mountain Dew, and Monster drinks.
Yes,
good you bring it.
So
exactly.
you can look. I don't know if they can see way in the back there, but there's a big party going on back there. We're trying to get those people fired up. So hit the likes, hit the hearts, keep this thing going. I mean, you can tell I am way optimistic about what's happening. We feel really, really good. We've been feeling really good for about the last week. And really, this sort of this momentum shift started sort of towards the end of last week, and then of course the big bombshell with the news about Crooked Hillary, and and I'm sorry, but that name fits her to a T. The more we hear about the things that are coming out, and just all the people around her, and the kind of judgment that she has talked about, but for Donald Trump, where he's at tonight in Wisconsin, and you can tell if you pay really close attention, you can tell the states that he is going after. These are decisions that he's made. He's going after the old blue states, the Wisconsin, Michigan. We're going to hit Pennsylvania. We just came from a couple of days ago. We were in New Mexico. We had 10,000 people that were they were rabid. It was a great audience. It was unbelievable. So we're very, very excited, and this is really, really an important time. This election, for the sort of the seriousness now of where we're at. This election is really for the heart and soul of this country. And we have such a deficit of leadership in the United States right now. And Donald Trump is going to bring big leadership and a big vision in his vision statement that he says we're going to make America great again. So I'm very excited about where we are. I will tell you that what you're seeing here and this whole setup is really all of us as a team being incredibly excited about winning next Tuesday. I mean, this is going to be a landslide victory, and the American public deserve it. So thanks for having me here tonight.
It's great. It's great
awesome
to have you. Great to have you here.
General, you mentioned Crooked Hillary earlier, and it doesn't take an expert to look at those emails that have come out and see the level of corruption there. Bill Clinton Inc., they called it, just all the money, the lines being blurred between the foundation, their private money, the State Department, you name it. But for you were the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, and so I think you have a particularly keen insight on this, just from an intelligence aspect. This was a national security nightmare, which you had set up there.
Yeah, so, the crazy thing is that here we have Anthony Weiner, who is being investigated for pedophilia, okay, for really gross, disgusting things with children as an adult, and what you have is you have the potential for extortion, you have the potential for espionage, you have the potential for, because of the national security risks that Hillary Clinton placed our country at by putting classified information on an unclassified system. And now we know of the 650,000 that the likelihood that there is highly classified information on these 650,000 that were recently discovered by the FBI. It just further, is another indicator of the poor judgment that she had and she has had for many, many years. And as Donald Trump likes to say, she's been doing this for 30 years. All these things that she's out there talking about, changing, why hasn't she done any of that in the last 30 years? So frankly, our country, what I want on Wednesday morning, the 9th, I want to see Hillary Clinton in my rearview mirror and in America's rearview mirror as we go forward. And we need to have Donald Trump taking this country, in a direction that gives us opportunity. I mean, gives people, hope and inspires people to just basically imagine what they can do. And that's a lot of the things that he talks about. So there's so much surrounding this election. And as a great Coach Knight said the night before last, when he introduced him, this is potentially the biggest election that we've had in our country since we elected George Washington. I am not kidding on that. This is such an important time because we're either going to go in the direction of socialism, or we're going to take this country and we're going to make it the, sort of the job producing, the economic, wealth that we can create. And continue to be that sort of big, shiny light on the top of the hill for the rest of the world. So,
it's great to have you here live with us. No, we're not.
I love it.
We're not letting you go for a while now.
Okay.
But we've actually seen you because a lot of times we go live right after Mr. Trump's rallies.
Right.
So, and here we are, Trump Tower Live. Tweet at us #TrumpLive. Hit the retweet button, hit the share button, and then tweet your questions at us, and we'll try to answer.
Don't forget about Drain the Swamp. #Drain the Swamp.
So you can tell from this conversation, you've spent a ton of time. We've seen you on the feed when you've been opening up for Mr. Trump. How's that been for you? How's that experience been?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I never thought that I would ever be involved in this kind of political cesspool, frankly, that we have in this country. I always joke the last time I was involved in politics, I was in high school, and so, which was many years ago. So this is it's very different. It's exciting, but I take this very seriously because for the last, nearly 3.5 decades of my life, I served in the military. And I love serving. I love our military. I love our veterans, and I think for where this country is at today, we're struggling. The one thing that I have seen, there's this sort of bubble that exists around Washington D.C., and people in Washington D.C. forget how difficult it is out in the rest of America. And Donald Trump, I mean, my God, you've seen this. You guys see this in the rallies that he has. There's thousands and thousands of people coming to these things. I mean, I watched the day before yesterday, I believe we were in Colorado. I get my days mixed up, but we were in Colorado. And
another blue state.
Beautiful, yeah, and we're going to win Colorado. And a woman was at the rail, the front rail, kind of right up front, and she had been waiting 8 hours. I went over and talked to her after Mr. Trump talked. And I watched her. She cried. This was an older woman. She was probably in her 60s. She cried the entire time he was up talking. And I went over and I gave her a big hug afterwards. And I asked her, what's going on? And she said, I've never seen this in my life. This is going to be the first time that I voted.
Wow. Yeah.
And
that's
I mean,
important.
She was so emotional because she said, I have not seen my country the way it is, and I'm going to go out and vote. And I wanted to see this man. And he gave an unbelievably inspiring speech. We were told that there was going to be like 3,000 to 4,000 people at that rally before we showed up, and there were 10,000. Another thing about this is that in Michigan, and I think we were in Detroit, or I forget the first place we were at yesterday, but 10,000 people showed up to this pavilion, this gymnasium. There was 10,000 people showed up. They showed up on one tweet the day before. Wow. From one tweet the day before. And one, it shows you the power of digital media and the way we're doing this thing right now. But from one tweet off of Donald Trump's Twitter account, 10,000 people showed up the next day. And it was in the middle of the day, so it was a school day, work day. I mean, it's phenomenal because people are like, oh my God, we need to have this leadership. And Donald Trump's going to provide that leadership. So for me, this is a really... it's an unbelievable experience, but I'm doing it because like I've said for many, many months now in this thing, when I vote for a president, I vote for a leader, and that's what Donald Trump is going to provide us. He's going to provide us that leadership, so pretty awesome.
Now, General Flynn, as a military leader, what scares you most about a Clinton presidency, and what excites you most about a Trump presidency?
Yeah, what scares me the most is her judgment. Okay, her judgment. If you look around the world at the things that she's been involved in, so the Russian reset failed, and we are now facing what I call a Cold War 2.0. Nobody even talks about the pivot to the Pacific or the Asia-Pacific strategy, which began while she was the Secretary of State. It was her sort of foreign policy objective. And nobody even talks about it anymore because it's almost a disaster. I mean, you look at what China's doing out in the South China Sea. And then, you just sort of walk your way through the landscape of North Africa and the Middle East, from Libya, Syria, Iraq, the massive challenges in Iraq, Yemen. The Iranian nuclear deal is probably the biggest one, where it started under her. She was the big influence behind it. And we just gave the #1 state sponsor of terrorism a pathway to a nuclear bomb, which is just crazy. Imagine just thinking about that. It's crazy. It sounds crazy. For Trump, the things that I talked to him about this one of the first times we met and talked. I was excited, and I was very, I found him to be a very good listener. And for a person that will run this country, one, he has great instincts about the kind of people that he puts around him, but he's a great listener. I mean, he really listens, and that to me is a big deal for someone who's going to be in a position of the presidency. And the other aspect of that is he's very decisive. When it's time to get to work, Donald Trump will say, "Okay, let's go." And then the third component, and this is something that has scared me about Hillary Clinton for a long time, and I don't use the word scare too often, is accountability. Donald Trump is an accountable person. He's accountable for himself, and he makes sure that others are accountable for their actions. Right. Hillary Clinton has demonstrated no accountability, and frankly, if she had any responsibility, if she had any personal accountability, she'd step down from running for president right now. I mean, more stuff is going to come out. I'm sick of it. I've had enough of it, and I know the American public has had. We're drowning in this scandal. It's unbelievable.
Before we let you go,
likes and happy faces and none of those mean faces or whatever they do. Right? I love it.
General Flynn is
hearts,
he's
right?
the most plugged in social media person.
I love it.
Coolest general.
I'm telling you.
He's definitely the coolest general I've
This
ever
is a
met.
digital.
No doubt.
I'm going to tell you, this is a digital election. So the outcome of this election, because you hear all the stuff about the mainstream media and the just incredible biasness against one candidate, Donald Trump, the barrage assault that he has gotten. So how has he overcome that? Through digital media, through the world of the digits here, folks. This is a digital election, and when you see things like, hashtag MAGA3X, hashtag Drain the Swamp, hashtag Never Hillary, hashtag
Trump
Trump Live. I mean, all these things.
Coolest general.
I'm telling you, it's just. This is what when we look back, because we're going to look back at why he won, and one of the big components is going to be the world of social media. Social media has radically changed the way we
Cliff right here, our social media gurus right here.
I mean, one of the things that I believe in strongly is something I call the citizen journalist. Okay, the citizen journalist, because the citizen journalist has the opportunity to see whatever they see and put their judgment out there and not be constrained by some editor or some bureau chief or some bureaucracy that's going to tell them no, or some bias. They put their own bias into it and they decide how they want to present it. But the citizen journalist, like on the battlefield, the best intelligence is from a soldier. And I used to say every soldier is a censor on the battlefield because they physically saw what was going on and they would report back. And so we came up with the idea of every soldier is a censor. So every citizen is a journalist. Every citizen can report. You can tweet, you can Facebook, you can Instagram, all these different things. And that's going to be a big deal for this election. And I'm telling you, wait till the next election.
I think I know the best place to end this interview right now. Follow Jen Flynn on Twitter, right?
At Jen Flynn. At Jen Flynn.
General Michael Flynn.
Thank you. Guys, see you later.
The coolest, and not just the
later.
coolest, but I haven't gotten to travel with him, the funnest general you will ever meet.
Peace out.
All right. So now we've got an interview coming up, Campbell, that you did earlier today. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, I would love to tell you about it. So today, I caught up with Tommy, who's been on the show a few nights ago, earlier last week. And basically, we focused on big issues that have come up in this election. Obamacare. We talked about the FBI's opening the investigation into Hillary's emails. And we also got some of her thoughts about what she expects to come in the next week. I'm Campbell Burr here in Trump Tower in New York City. As you know, the election is 1 week away. And today we have Tomi Lahren, host of Tommy from The Blaze, on with us to discuss her thoughts about what the next week should bring. So, Tomi, some exciting developments last week as the FBI reopened their investigation into Hillary's emails. What are your thoughts on this, and how do you think it will impact the election in the coming days?
You know, I said it yesterday, this is really God's gift to this election cycle. I know a lot of us, on Team Trump, we were seeing the polls. Some of us were getting a little demoralized. We still had the great spirit going, but, it was a tough uphill battle. And then Friday came, and then the heavens opened up, and the FBI and James Comey really delivered on their promise to reopen the investigation if new material came to light. It did. She's scrambling right now, and it's fun to watch her apologists all over the TV, all over the mainstream. It's funny, especially when her apologists go on CNN, because we know we've got the disgraced Donna Brazile, who also had to leave CNN. It's a circle of corruption. Really what this tells us is we've got a candidate in Donald Trump that is vowed to drain the swamp, and then you've got the other candidate, Hillary Clinton, who is the swamp, who is the queen of the Everglades. Do we really want to elect a president, a commander-in-chief that is under investigation, that could very well be elected and then have to pardon herself? Let that sink in for a moment and let the American voters decide what they want to see next Tuesday.
Exactly, Tomi, and I think that we can both agree that the FBI probably would not reopen this investigation unless there was significant reason to do so and significant wrongdoing involved. Okay, Tomi, so now turning to Obamacare, another development from last week. Last week, government data showed that monthly insurance premiums are rising by 25% on average next year, and in Arizona, as much as 116%. You have said that the Obama administration should be embarrassed by this failure, but that it's actually a setup for what they really want. Can you tell us what you meant by this?
Of course, it's a setup, Campbell. This is exactly what the Obama administration wanted. Barack Obama set up Hillary perfectly for this. They wanted to introduce something that they knew would be a failure. They wanted to ramrod it through Congress, and now here we are with a failing system. But they should be embarrassed. They should want to repeal and replace. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to say, we've already gone too far. So they're going to say, we need to expand it. They're going to say, we need single payer. We need universal health care. They're going to say that is the remedy that will fix Obamacare. Get ready for more government. Get ready for higher premiums. Get ready for higher deductibles. Get ready for more physicians fleeing the system. And get ready for more government-run health care in your life. Get ready for more small business regulations. This is going to wreak havoc on the American people and our small businesses. And this is exactly what they wanted to happen, to just grow the tentacles of government even more. Don't think for 1 second they didn't know this was going to happen.
Seriously, it's scary stuff. And on that note, next, from the developments last week, we're seeing new polls out today that show Donald Trump up a point nationally and up 13 points since last week. We've seen this huge development momentum shift over the past few days. What do you expect will come? Give us some of your famous final thoughts about what you expect will come in the next week before Election Day.
I think I think that this is great that this is coming. Don't for 1 second think that this is just because of the investigation and the FBI kind of reopening and re-examining Hillary's scandals. No, it's not just because of that. It's also because Donald Trump has been getting out around this country, whereas Hillary Clinton is dancing on stage with J-Lo, dancing on Univision and making a mockery of the election cycle in the process and sending her surrogates like Michelle Obama out on her behalf. We've got Donald Trump going all around this country, coming to you and speaking to you, and we've seen it as rallies. He is on message. He is on point, and he's telling the American people that it is America first, whereas she is sitting back and telling us that it's her first. It's her circle of corruption first. It's her influence first. It's her legacy first. You've got two very different messages. Like I said again, you've got someone that wants to drain the swamp and the other one that is the swamp, and she should be very nervous a week from today.
Definitely, Tomi. I think the American people are waking up and seeing what an amazing president Donald Trump would make. Thank you so much for joining us today, as always, and thank you for joining us on Trump Tower Live.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Tommy, once again, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. Great talking to you, and we have an exciting week ahead. On that note, Boris, tell us about the latest polls that are out today.
The polling is really unbelievable, and it's so exciting. Starting this morning, the ABC poll came out showing Donald Trump up 1 over Hillary Clinton. Now, that's great. We're up 1. But put in perspective, 8 days ago, Mr. Trump was down 12 in that same poll. A 13-point swing in one national poll. And a lot of that way before those Friday news. So actually, there was a 10-point swing by the time the Friday news came about. So really, this race is moving toward Mr. Trump. In the LA Times poll, up 4, and then you go local. North Carolina up 7, Ohio up 4 and 5, Maine second congressional district with 1 electoral vote, very important still, up 1 and 2. So doing very well in the polling. 6 days to go now. Unbelievably exciting. The race is 100% moving Donald Trump's way. And the more information on that, obviously key information from early voting, absentee balloting.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit of absentee balloting, early voting, and that kind of thing. But I do think it's worth noting what we just came out of in Wisconsin, the rally there, is really, I think, a kind of a snapshot of what you're seeing all over the country. As you see Republicans start coming home, moving in Mr. Trump's direction really fast. We saw, Chairman Priebus, you got the governor, Scott Walker there, you got the whole crew all out there, just all Republicans coming together and saying, we're going to get behind Mr. Trump's America First message here. We can't afford a Hillary Clinton presidency. That's the bottom line. And when you look at not just the polls, which as we know can be skewed sometime, let's look at hard data on who's already voted. I'm just going to run through a few of the battleground states here. In Arizona, Republicans currently have an edge in total ballots cast by over 45,000 votes. Colorado, Republicans have returned over 30,000 more ballots to date than at this point in 2012. So again, you're seeing this enthusiasm way up for Republicans.
In a historically blue state recently.
That's right. And as you hear these numbers, you got to realize Democrats' specialty over the years has been this early voting. Yes. I mean, in a lot of states that even Romney won in 2012, Democrats won in the early voting, and then Romney comes a big comeback on election day.
Like North Carolina.
So exactly, that's a perfect example. What we're seeing this year is the Democrat gap in early voting has either been shrunk or eliminated completely. In a lot of these states, we're out ahead. If you look down in Florida, Republicans outperforming 2012 in early voting, while Democrats are way behind their 2012 pace. Iowa, Republicans are maintaining our 2012 pace, but Democrats are lagging way behind. Again, it's the enthusiasm gap. Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina. In North Carolina, particularly, Republican voting, early voting, way up.
Right.
Democrats way down again. I mean, I could go down every state here, Ohio, Wisconsin. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or political expert here to see that there is a pattern. Democrats' enthusiasm way down.
Way down.
They don't want to go to the polls. They can't get excited for voting for crooked Hillary. That's the bottom line. Republicans, meanwhile, getting really excited about a Donald Trump presidency, and it just goes state by state. That's what we're seeing.
We asked you to tweet at us at hashtag Trump Live. We have a couple of pretty good tweets here from Toby Warner. Big support from Germany. Hope he can drain the swamp. Wish you all the best next week for elections. So really good. And then an interesting one here from Don't Say Stupid. Define globalism versus nationalism for everybody. Most important reason to vote for Donald Trump. So globalism versus nationalism.
Well, I think
globalism versus nationalism.
The place you look is trade, right? So Hillary Clinton's globalist trade policies, NAFTA being probably the one that gets the most recognition, TPP more recently, are shipping American jobs overseas. 1 in 3 American manufacturing jobs gone in the wake of NAFTA. Donald Trump just quite simply saying, whether it's trade or whatever it is, we're going to put America first. We're going to put American workers first, and that's what you can expect. So great tweet.
Yeah, a lot of good tweets out there. Keep tweeting at us. So really, with 6 days to go, how are we feeling about the race, gang? What are we thinking?
We're feeling great. And this week we have more great events planned. Mr. Trump will be in Florida tomorrow, and Florida and North Carolina on Thursday. Once again, go to our website, donaldjtrump.com, and click on schedule to register for these events. But the momentum is incredible, and I think that the ball right now is moving forward, and lots of enthusiasm on the ground.
And another very exciting event, Kel. Tell us about the event on Thursday in Berwyn, Pennsylvania with Mrs. Trump.
Yes, so Mrs. Trump is holding her own rally on Thursday, Berwyn, Pennsylvania. You can register for that event as well in the same place in the schedule section of our website. and she'll be speaking at 2 p.m. So this is, having her on the campaign trail, I think will be wonderful for the campaign, and it will be great for the country to get to see her.
And she'll be talking about her story,
well.
her family's story, her background, but also her vision for America, which is also Mr. Trump's vision, and her thoughts on how she'll be as First Lady once Mr. Trump is elected president. I think that's going to be great for the American people.
No, I'm really looking forward to that. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode of Trump Tower Live.
Yes.
Wrap this thing up. We'll be back tomorrow.
With all the deplorables voting for Trump, we're going to need a bigger basket. That's an Avi Berkowitz special, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Avi, our esteemed director. God gave us that one.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the same place tomorrow night.
Have a good evening. All right.